why do we have to be so separated with politics? This is something I'm still struggling to understand in the US, and it's still something that doesn't fully make sense to me. I've been really and truly trying to figure this out, but it's a true struggle, and I'll talk about some points here just to try to see if we can make sense of it. So, most people claim that they're on one side, maybe they're leftish or they're rightish, whichever it is. But whenever I speak to people, what I tend to notice is most of them are actually in the middle. They actually agree a little bit with one side and then they agree with some on the other, but they try to claim they're 100% on one side. For example, the left are thought to believe in scientific religions and unconventional religions, but you can be on the left and be Christian or Muslim or whatever it may be, Judas, whatever it may be. So I'm not exactly sure where people get that idea from. You can also be on the right and think that equality is an opportunity and it's not for everyone. At least that's the right mentality. But you can also be a rightish person and believe that everyone has an equal chance in the country to do great things. Because it's definitely a left mindset to believe in equality, and that's something that a lot of people really do tend to ignore. You could also be right-wing, but you don't want to deal with undocumented immigrants. Now, this is a country founded upon by immigrants, and they are a very important and integral part of the economy, but maybe you have a change of heart one day and, an immigrant changes your life and you want to see them get their path to citizenship. But this is a left idea, and these are just some small examples, but there are many examples out there where people simply agree with the other side and they don't even realize it, and people in America have definitely made it taboo to even talk about politics, man. You start talking about politics and it's more like, it can get violent, people get loud. I'm a person who actually loves to talk to people about politics because I like to learn from their different points of view, and most of the time I'm not even sure if people realize what the government is exactly doing. I mean, I hear certain things that really have to do a lot with microeconomics, where the president's more focused on macroeconomics. I hear a lot of people ask me, hey, what has the government done for me? Well, from my perspective, they keep you in a safe country, relatively. You have opportunities that other people around the world may not have. Now, does this mean the opportunities are the same? Absolutely not. But even though it's not perfect, it's something, and that's important. Some people want more government, some people want less government, and they cannot really tell you what that means. Sometimes people will say, I want a small government, and completely describe they want more government. So it's almost like people are actually wanting the exact opposite of what they are claiming that they want, which is actually a very interesting thing when you sit back and you really think about it. So I just think that the country is far too divided, and I'm not exactly sure what it will take for people to come together, but yesterday's debate was a big eye-opener. And I think, if anything, it accidentally brought people together, which is actually a very interesting thing that made that happen. The debate was definitely a wake-up call. Let's just be honest with ourselves for a quick second. All right, after Biden dropped out, Kamala came in, everything for Trump changed immediately, because now his game plan completely changes. Everything he prepared for is completely different. After the assassination attempt, I honestly thought Trump would have won the presidency. I thought it was handed to him, especially when that picture was caught with him pumping his fist up, and he had the American flag behind him with Secret Service all around him, and he's yelling, fight, fight, fight. I thought that was it. And I knew the Democrats had to do something if they wanted a chance to actually win this back, and I think the Democrats did exactly what they had to do, was bring in Kamala Harris. And I mean, okay, first of all, let's just be completely honest. If they could have gotten the likes of Michelle Obama, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. But that's besides the point. I honestly thought, though, Trump seriously had won and was just granted the presidency this time around. But then Trump changed. And of course, that type of experience in his life, that's a life-changing experience, man. But he started losing the momentum, and then after Biden dropped out, Kamala coming in, he canceled all of the debates. Which, in all honesty, he probably should have stick to that, because this debate was probably proof that he simply had nothing on Kamala, and there wasn't really much that he could say. I mean, we'll go over more on that. So during the debate, I can't make this up, but Trump's age was brought into question. If he's the right person to lead the country. Trump says he thinks Biden was the worst president in the U.S. history, but at the same time, when you look at all the polls and things of that nature, it's Trump that was voted as the worst president in U.S. history. Now, am I saying that's right or not? That's up to the people. I'm not a person who's Democratic or Republican, so who's in office is not really the big deal. The big deal is how they protect the country and how they defend the country. That's really what's more important to me, but that's a conversation for a different day. So he fell back into a lot of his rhetoric, especially that he was doing to Hillary, and Kamala almost kind of fell into that hole where, it's like, oh, hey, go fact check this, go fact check that. These people do not want to hear you talking about going to fact check something. They want to hear you speak on stage. And Kamala fell into that hole for just a little bit, just long enough. And as soon as she snapped out of it, Trump went into a hole that he could not dig himself out of. So Kamala definitely turned it around. I guess the only thing that I really kind of got mad at Kamala for was she couldn't, hide her emotions in her face. It was quite obvious. Now, if I'm being honest, if I was the person on that stage, and I'm a pretty calm person, I'd probably be laughing at some of the things that Trump was saying and claiming as well. That would be actually kind of hard to lie about. And we'll touch on that. Especially, you know what? We'll touch on it now. Especially when Trump started talking about cats and dogs being eaten by immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. I thought that was just, even Kamala laughed on stage. I tried to hold out for maybe 10 or 15 seconds while I was watching it, but I couldn't help myself but laugh. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people couldn't help themselves but laugh as well, because social media started blowing up with, oh, why do you think cats don't show up near Asian restaurants, or cats on a plane with Trump, and all of these ridiculous things. Trump was also being fact-checked quite a bit. He started talking about new Trump sales taxes, where him wanting to add more tariffs on products coming from overseas, especially cars being built in Mexico. He did claim that a lot of these car manufacturing companies are actually leaving the U.S. for Mexico because it's cheaper to do business there, and then they're going to try to sell their cars back to the U.S., which is not false. I mean, even BYD built a factory in Mexico, but BYD has not made a full stance in the U.S. auto market yet. They kind of are, because, they have, coach buses and things of that nature in the country, but not the everyday automobile. So a lot of these tariffs could backfire as well. You have to keep that in mind, because even Ford makes vehicles in Mexico. And what if he adds tariffs to Ford vehicles? Because Ford decided to leave the country and stuff like that to make other vehicles. That could backfire as well. So there's a lot of things that have to really be looked at carefully. Haitian migrants eating the pets, we've already gone over that. I'm not going to touch on this because we all got our laugh out of it. No U.S. military members. This was also mentioned in the debate. No U.S. military members are on active duty in combat zones. That's not necessarily fully true. Maybe they're not exactly in the combat zone, but some of them definitely are near, especially in regions of the Middle East. Trump brought back the argument of aborting live babies. Once again, even on CNN, they have shown that these are false claims, that no one is aborting a baby after it's alive. I'm not exactly sure where this came from. This is an interesting conundrum here, because the simple fact that you're claiming it is one thing, you don't have proof is another thing, but you're just openly willing to say it in the public as if people are practicing this with no proof, by the way. Now, can I prove that people are not practicing this? No, I can't, but I highly doubt that's happening. some of the things that also were brought up were Roe v. Wade. You know, my stance on Roe v. Wade is very different than most people. I pretty much see it as we have enough intelligent women in politics. They have an outreach to women out there in the country. They know what these women want. Why don't we let women make the laws for women? You know, as men, I understand we can have an opinion about what should happen or what needs to happen and stuff like that. But to be completely honest, we never fully understand, or we will never know really what women are going through. And that's just the complete honesty. And that's the truth. So we really have to take a step back on that and let women run that for women. I think they will do a better job at understanding what women go through, you know? And that's just my perspective on it. You know, Venezuelan gangs are taking over Colorado apartment complexes. Well, Trump ran away with this one. This one also was the first time that I heard about it, but the Aurora police definitely came out and made a statement, and they have confirmed that a handful of members of the Venezuelan gang, Trenda Aragua, are indeed operating in the area. Local authorities strongly rejected assertions that the gang is in control over any apartment buildings or any apartment complex in Colorado. So overall, we'll just call it what it is. The debate was really bad for Trump, okay? Kamala definitely gained some new supporters for certain. And with the follow-up, Trump actually canceled the rest of the debates with Kamala. Again, I think this is another blow to his campaign, you know, and that's not a good look for Trump at all. You know, people are on social media claiming that ABC had this on tape delay and they decided to change what Trump was saying to make Trump look worse. Trump came out with a claim that ABC rigged this entire debate. I'm hearing all sorts of things that I'm not exactly sure where people are getting from, or do they even have proof of what they are claiming, but people are claiming these things. But in all honesty, I made this video because whichever side of this presidential race you actually sit on, I just wish we could have an open dialogue about it, you know, without the fear of the conversation going left or people being chastised. You know, people start getting up and screaming their points of views instead of just having a adult conversation about it. I mean, Dr. Phil even recently had an episode where a guy was chastised and cut off from family and friends because his political views changed. This shouldn't happen to anyone. It should just be an open conversation. And once upon a time in America, that was a thing, but today it's definitely not. You know, everyone should be allowed to have their own political views and their own political opinions. So maybe in the future we can go back to this and learn from each other at some point. But again, you know, let's just be out there and be better people and make a better world. I guess that's the ultimate message that we have to share. But, you know, tell me what you guys think about this debate from yesterday, you know, and we'll definitely talk about it and then we'll see what you guys think. I'm really curious as to what more will come out on social media and the news networks and media and all that. So I'm very curious. But thank you guys for watching, man, and have a great day. Peace out.